numbers, and you see that they gave up 640 yards.
Right.
So, yeah, Oregon by a mile.
I'll agree with you. I like Oregon.
All right, let's move on to, we promised we'd talk about Notre Dame because we do every week and we just can't help ourselves. But Michigan playing Notre Dame this week. Michigan, a team that has probably underachieved a little bit to this point. After that Alabama game, they have not looked that impressive. Fitzgerald Toussaint, their French running back, I don't know if he's French or not, just
Most
sounds like it. He's been pretty ineffective so far. He, of course, was suspended for the Alabama game, so he did not get to participate there. Pretty much all they've got at this point is Denard.
That's it. But he is enough against a lot of defenses. Notre Dame's looked pretty good to this point. Surprised a lot of us. I know we didn't think they'd be as good as they are now. They look fast. It's pretty ridiculous how last year everybody said, where are these recruiting classes that you've had for 5 or 6 years? This year it looks like we're seeing it. I mean, they got a lot of speed on the field. They look pretty good in a lot of aspects. Defense, which is actually pretty weird. Notre Dame's not known for, but they look pretty good defensively.
Yeah, of course, Denard Robinson has been big problems for the Notre Dame defense the past couple of years. And you mentioned the Notre Dame speed, but they still have not really seen a scrambling quarterback of this nature to this point. And, of course, let's not forget that Notre Dame was very close to losing to Purdue. So that's another thing to keep in mind. This team may not be consistent yet. And I just think it's time for Notre Dame to lose. It's about that time of the year. Denard Robinson, it's about time of year for him to have a big game. I think you got to go with Michigan in this one. Even though it's on the road.
I'm going with Michigan just because I'm tired of hearing about Notre Dame.
Yes.
And it's more of a wishful pick.
This is for both of us is a pick with the heart.
That's right.
Maybe a little bit with the head, but mostly with the heart. So we're both going to take Michigan there. Let's move on to the Big 12. Two teams that are still kind of mysterious at this point. Kansas State and Oklahoma.
That's right.
Neither of these teams have really done a whole lot competition-wise
or
yet.
played anybody, right?
Right. So it's kind of a tough one to pick. Oklahoma, of course, opened up against UTEP, had a pretty scary game there.
Right. Some time delay issues in that one, weather. So you can blame that on whatever you want to blame it on.
But Kansas State has not exactly been impressive either. They gave up 200 yards passing to a North Texas team.
Right.
What do you think on this one?
Well, I told you I'm swinging for the fences, but I really think that this is my most substantial upset pick. I'm picking Kansas State. I am a believer in their quarterback. I saw him a couple times last year, thought he was overrated, but I've seen him this year, and last year he was just a pure runner. This year he's showing his arm. He's got some passing chops to his game. He is their only offensive weapon. He is Kansas State's offense. So if he goes down, Oklahoma, wipes the tables with him. But I think Kansas State can keep it close, and I think they get a close victory right here.
Yeah, Kansas State, one of those teams that kind of falls into the sneaky good category. Normally I would say this is a good chance for an upset, but I still feel like Oklahoma has something to prove at this point because they have not really won a decisive game. They're looking to vault themselves up into that national title contention spot that has been vacated by USC. I think Landry Jones is going to be able to put some things together against that Kansas State defense as far as the passing game goes. I'm going to go with the Sooners in this one. I think it'll be a decently close game, though. The spread is 13.5 for Oklahoma. I would say, I don't know. That's right at the line for me. They did a good job on that one. I don't know.
Kansas State winning would take a closer game, I would think. I think a late field goal, keeping it close and sneaking back in the fourth quarter, or maybe even in overtime. Kind of taking a leap of faith on that one, but I think they've got it in them.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to the game I throw in the Pick 10 every week, just to see how much you're paying attention to the rest of the college football world. This week it is Louisiana Tech at Illinois, two teams that we have most definitely not talked about to this point. Let me give you a couple points on these teams so far. Illinois was drilled by Arizona State. Their quarterback play has been pitiful. Louisiana Tech, to this point, is putting up big offensive numbers.
Against nobody.
But to be fair, Illinois has given up huge chunks of passing yardage.
The spread on this one with Illinois at home is only 1.5, and that tells you how much Vegas likes Illinois. Not a lot of confidence.
Not much there. But I don't know. Like you said, Louisiana Tech hasn't really played anybody yet, but they're one of those teams that have really kind of risen up. All of these, I wouldn't say directional Louisiana schools, but Louisiana Tech and Louisiana Monroe, they're kind of elevating themselves to this point above pure cupcake status. They're actually somewhat respectable opponents at this point.
Oh yeah, the Cajuns have got some fight in them. So
yeah.
I'm actually going to take La Tech. I think they've got a really good offense. Their defense is probably going to struggle, but against Illinois, they can't stop anybody. So I'm going to take La Tech.
I'm going to take Louisiana Tech in this one as well. I think if Louisiana Tech wins this game, it should raise some more serious questions in Illinois. I know their coach just took over this year, but as has happened before, a coach is taking over a former Ron Zook team that is pretty well loaded with talent.
Right.
There's talented guys there, and at some point those guys have to start producing, and it has just not been happening for them.
At all.
Yeah, at all. I mean, for a long time, Illinois has been terrible. And they're not a traditionally great team, but they should be a clear favorite over a team like Louisiana Tech.
With the talent they have, they should be playing better football than what they're playing.
So, all right, and we saved the premier game of the week, if you will, for last. Clemson traveling to Florida State. I've heard a lot of talk about Florida State this week, their defense being able to hang with Alabama's, as some people have said.
Wow.
What are your thoughts on that?
I wouldn't go that far. Florida State has played nobody this year, and they continue to play nobody outside of Clemson. I believe Florida State's strength of schedule ranks in the 200s, which is, if you calculate right, lower than some of the FCS teams. So Florida State, this is really their only challenge. They're going to be pumped up for this game because there's really no other game to get excited about during the year. Clemson, we're not really sure. They played it tight against Auburn. You've seen how Auburn's looked after that. They've had a couple close victories. They put up some numbers, but that's just the Clemson offense. Their defense has been suspect at times. And Florida State's offense has looked good, even though they haven't really played anybody. Playing against Savannah State, God intervened and cut that game off. So Florida State's got some talent.
Yeah, I don't know, but Florida State hasn't been that impressive to me on offense. Their defense has been somewhat good, but I think Clemson can counterbalance that with the skill guys that they have. Sammy Watkins is back. Taj Boyd is a lot more experienced now. I think even if Florida State is able to get some pressure on him, as Auburn did at times, he can escape, make some things happen. I don't think he's going to be too startled back there in the pocket. I'm not buying Florida State. I realize, like you said, that this is pretty much their only challenge. If they win this game, they have a real clear shot to the national title game. But after seeing what I've seen out of Clemson, I think they have a pretty good shot in this game. And I actually think playing some of those close games, the one against Auburn included, is going to prepare them well for this game. They've played some real teams. They have some experience. They've played almost a road game against a big opponent in the Georgia Dome there, so they'll be prepared for this game in Tallahassee. I don't know. I'm going to take Clemson in this one.
Okay, well, I think that this is Florida State's only big game. They're playing it at home. I think they're going to be able to get a lot more pressure on Taj Boyd because they can play some solo coverage against the big receivers. And I think Sammy Watkins coming in actually hurts Clemson. It's going to be one more set of hands that wants the ball. It's going to be hard to spread it out and keep it even everywhere. So I'm going to take Florida State. I think they're going to end up winning this one, and I think they'll go on and have a pretty easy walk to being undefeated or maybe having one upset loss.
All right, well, let's go back and recap our picks for the Pick 10 here. Both of us are taking LSU over Auburn. Both of us with South Carolina over Missouri. David with the huge upset, Vandy over Georgia.
Come on, Commodores.
David taking Rutgers, while I'm taking Arkansas in that matchup of semi-mediocre teams. Both of us taking Boise State tonight over BYU. Both of us with Oregon over Arizona. Both of us hoping Notre Dame loses, picking Michigan there. David's going to take Kansas State and Colin Klein over Oklahoma and Landry Jones. I'm going to take the Sooners there. We're both going to take Louisiana Tech over Illinois, and I'm going to take the Clemson Tigers and David, the Florida State Criminals in that primetime matchup. We're going to take a quick break. We have a surprise for you on the other side, and by that I mean we haven't exactly figured out what we're going to talk about yet, but we can promise that it will be exciting college football-related paraphernalia, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We hope you will too on Outputting Our Coverage.
We're back. We're back. We're back. We're back, here we go. No more commercials. Here we go. Always talking stuffs. We're back. Don't know what we're talking about, but we're back. Time for the show.
All right, we're back here on Outputting Our Coverage. Not too much time left on the show. Let's do this, David. Let's look at the top 25. Give me one team you think is overrated and one team that you think is underrated.
The overrated team, I think, is Texas, who's sitting at number 12. Haven't really played anybody. I mean, if you want to say you beat an SEC team, okay, but you beat Ole Miss, that doesn't count. I haven't seen anything from them. I know a lot of people are high on Texas this year, but I think they're about to take an epic fall here in the next couple weeks. Some games they shouldn't lose, or some games that they're playing equal opponents, they're going to get blasted in. I think Texas is overrated. Underrated, I've got West Virginia. I think they're going to find a way to sneak up here and get in the top 5 before the season's over. Really a strong believer in West Virginia. I think they might even win the Big 12 this year. So they're ranked number 8. I think they'll get in the top 5 before the year's out.
All right. I would say overrated. It's easy to go with Arizona at 21. That one will be taken care of short order. I'm going to say Florida, though. They're up at 14. They've been good so far, yes, but I don't think they're a top 15 team for sure. I think they're going to run into some roadblocks.
You are a Florida hater.
Season. I'm just not thinking that they're back yet. Jeff Driscoll looked pretty good, but I don't think they're quite where they need to be. As far as underrated teams go, I would probably say Mississippi State at this point, and that's not just because they beat Auburn. If you look at the rest of their schedule, they've actually got a pretty good path to be able to win a lot of games. Basically, the only one coming up that they may have some trouble with is really when they play Alabama.
Right, and I'm going to do a bonus underrated team. I told you Louisville's my dark horse. I thought they'd be in the top 10 by the end of the year. Right now, hanging on the outside at either 18 or 20, depending on which poll you look at. But watch out for Louisville. I think they might be an underrated team right now.
All right, so that's all the time we got here on Outputting Our Coverage this week. We will be back next week. We'll post the link to sign up for our Pick'em Challenge if you haven't done so yet.
We're very excited to announce that we have one more picker with us. We've got Larry Baker's wife.
Yes. So keep on joining on. There's still time. In the meantime, enjoy your college football this weekend. We will see you next week.